I will say also a big part of me wanted the show to be canceled those first 2 years. Desperately wanted the show to be canceled because it was so hard. It was 5 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I was there all day long. I was there till midnight every night. I had 2 young kids. I was going through a divorce. I was surrounded by people who did not know what they were doing. I'd hired all my friends and my family, and I couldn't quit, I couldn't quit because they would all be mad at me.
But they could cancel
But
us.
if we got canceled, it's another thing entirely. I guess it's the same mentality as when I'm feeling nauseated and I want the plane to go down.
Right. It's breaking bread.
I have thought about getting a skunk because first of all, they're beautiful. If you really look at a skunk, they're a nice looking animal. They're somewhere between a dog and a cat, which I don't want any of these things, but you can take that gland off of their body. I mean, you have to have a professional do it. It's not like you can do it in the kitchen, but you can do that. And people do have skunks as pets. And I wonder, do skunks, they probably don't ever get sprayed by other skunks, right?
Right.
If they did, that would be weird.
It would be weird.
So that might be the safest animal for you guys to get is a skunk.
I tried to trap the skunk.
You did?
Yeah, I had a professional come, and he had one of those like, wire, like rectangle traps.
Little skunk
put
prison.
Peanut butter in it, a little skunk prison, and we set it up in the back, and I hear it. Whoosh. I'm like, oh my God, we caught a skunk. And I'm like, he's probably spraying like crazy. And I come inching up. Our pug is in there eating the peanut butter. Not even understanding that he's trapped. Just so happy that he has peanut butter.
Well, you know what? That's interesting. I haven't trapped anything, but we've had that situation where possums, he trapped a possum.
They're weird.
And then the guy assures you that it's going to be handled, humanely, and it's like he's dumping it in his bathtub or something like that.
We're taking him upstate. It'll be all right.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to drown him in a trash can outside my apartment complex. But
Brutal.
the best thing about trapping an animal like that is when you're with another person. They are at, when you approach that you said you do, you approach the animal in the cage is the best time to go. And I have a friend who was like, we got the possum. He was at my house. I was like, oh, okay, let's go check it out. And he creeps up to the cage. I went, and he jumped like I had to have the fireman come get him off the roof.
My uncle used to do that with me. We would go crabbing at the Jersey Shore, and I would have to carry the buckets and stuff. And every single time, he would come up behind me and jiggle the bucket. Every single time.
I'm that uncle for sure. I love it. I don't know what. This morning on Amazon, I bought one of those snakes that has a string attached to it that you clip onto the back of somebody's jacket, and then they turn around and you go, hey, is there a snake? And they turn around and then the snake's chasing them. I watched this with my 7-year-old son, and we laugh until we can't breathe anymore. And I am worried that I'm going to kill someone. Like I do feel like there's a 10% chance I'm going to kill somebody with, someone's
they're
going to have a heart
to
attack.
go through like a sliding glass door or something, or have a heart attack.
Then I'm going to have that moment. Oh, I didn't even think about the glass door. But and then I'm going to have that moment where I have to decide whether I'm going to put that video on the show or not. Like if it ends in death, do I try to cover it up and do I hide it? Probably.
Depends how funny it is.
I have an 85-year-old Aunt Chippy that I pull a lot of pranks on. In fact, I'm looking at your Marlboro cigarettes here. And on her 85th birthday, this is something I used to do to her all the time when I was a kid. Like every time she came over to our house, I got these cigarette loads, which are people don't really know what these are anymore, but they're little pieces of wood and they're explosive, and you put them in a cigarette, you gently put them in with like a paper clip, and then when you smoke the cigarette, the cigarettes explode. And I hadn't done it to her for a long time because they don't really make cigarette loads anymore. But I found a stash on eBay.
Nice.
And I ordered them in advance, and for her birthday, her 85th birthday, I gave her a pack of cigarettes. I wrapped them up. It actually came from my kids. I wanted to get them in on the prank.
Nice.
And she's like, oh, that's funny, whatever. Cigarettes. She goes home with my cousin that night. And I said to my cousin, you got to get video of her. And I actually posted this on my Instagram. And sure enough, and she lost. We've watched this video. She said, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I know it. That little asshole. He ruined the whole night. And now my 7-year-old calls me that little asshole.
That's amazing.
That little asshole.
It's the best.
But I love it. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just love seeing people frightened. I love that jolt. I like to see how people react for real. You know?
The jolts that you had when you had the cutout of you in the show.
Oh, the wax figure.
The wax figure.
That was my cousin Mickey. She filmed her mother.
Oh,
yeah.
Those were great. Just the way the karate moves that everybody has when they're scared.
It's funny. Some people are super jumpy. And I think you teach yourself that in some way.
Yeah.
Like your laugh is a laugh that you've adopted in some way, right?
Yeah, you've kind of created it.
Yeah, and in a way, I think how you react to being startled is like planned in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit.
And some people plan to react in a big way. I don't. I just have a little death in a little like I feel like all my organs squeezing together, and I know that if I go on a roller coaster, I know like 4 to 5 days have been subtracted from my life as a result of riding that roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think comedians, their view of that is I'm losing 4 days of my life, and it's about how it's supposed to go. You know what I mean? My wife and I were in a plane, and it made some really weird moves. Everyone was screaming, and she looked over at me, and I was like, yeah, this is about right.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you weren't freaking out. You were just like, this is when death comes. I saw it coming.
I'm weirdly calm about that, too. I've been in a couple of airplane situations where people were, you had to land because something was wrong and people were really... And I thought, wow, I was not nervous at all. In fact, like if I get airsick, I get motion sickness. I have had many occasions where I'm throwing up on a plane. I go, please, will this plane crash and end my life?
I'll take it. Do you get like the vertigo, like the spinning? Is it that
Not
thing?
the spinning, but
I get that.
the vomiting.
The vomiting, really?
Yeah, the vomiting, yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
And it's weirdly embarrassing, you know.
Yeah, you're
I
throwing
can't go on. I can't go on the teacups. I like even just watching people spin around bothers me. Yeah.
What about driving? Like if you're a passenger?
Oh, that's no good at all. I need to drive. I have to be the one who drives.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the electric cars make it worse because there's a lot of golf cart style jolting. You know.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. This was such a delight.
Should we
I'm
start
so happy
rolling?
to see you. I think we've been rolling for a while. But I brought you something.
Oh, really?
I was so happy that you were coming on. And I normally bake bread for my guests, but I was in New York last night.
Gotcha.
So I got from Lodge bread, which you'll go
probably
home
would have
with.
smelled like a skunk anyway, right?
It wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
So forgive me for not baking your bread.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you.
But I got this for you.
That's very kind.
But last night I was in New York. I was walking back from the Comedy Cellar, thinking about seeing you today, and I was upset about the bread. And then I see down some avenues, some lights, like carnival lights. And I realized, oh, wait a minute. I think the San Genaro Festival.
Oh, yeah.
It's September, right? It's got to be San Genaro. And I went into my room, took my shoes off, lied down on the bed, and I'm like, look it up, and it is the festival. And I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I got to just get to sleep. No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go see if there's something for Jimmy at the San Genaro Festival.
Wow.
I got up, I put my shoes on, I went marching out. It was like, not that far, a half mile or whatever. And I was so excited. I hadn't been there since I was a kid. And I found, you probably know this from your Italian heritage, the Torrone.
Oh, the Torrone. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now it's a little, it's not very attractive.
It's actually
you want to smell
nice
it?
looking. Yeah, thank you. Very nice. Wow, look at that.
And I have
I might taste a little bit of this.
Look at where it came from. Look at
Oh, wow.
Look at that giant brick.
First of all, did you try it? It's delicious.
It's so good.
Secondly,
it's almond.
It's beautiful.
And look how they break it up.
With a hammer.
With a hammer. They take a hammer, they put a knife in it, and take the hammer and start.
It's not even like a culinary hammer. It's like a hammer. It's like a Stanley hammer. like a Sears hammer.
Is that amazing?
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're
I
so
appreciate
welcome.
that.
I was so overjoyed.
This works out perfectly. I'm on an all carbs diet right now, so can I keep the bag so I can
this
protect
is all
it?
yours.
Okay,
It's
thank
all
you.
yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the feast. I had, as you know, I created the Feast of San Genaro here in Los Angeles for 10 very long years before we stopped doing it. It started in my backyard. It was primarily to make Zeppoles, which would not have traveled well. I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, I know. There was a lot of other stuff.
People don't know what Zeppoles are. They're just like little golf ball sized donuts with powdered sugar on them. And they're light, and when they're made well, they are absolutely delicious.
Heavenly.
And so I would make Zeppoles in the backyard, and my Italian friends would make other things that were like calamari or whatever, things that were
sausage and peppers.
Sausage and peppers,
That's
always.
a big one.
And we started doing this, and then somebody thought, well, why not make this a charity event? And so we started doing it in the parking lot behind the I forget what records building where Sinatra recorded. And then we moved it to our parking lot when the show started.
It's so great.
And it was
I missed these years.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was a
York.
huge pain in my ass.
Was it? Yeah.
And ultimately, we, I think, raised like $8 for charity over the course. I mean, it was so expensive. And it was an outdoor festival, so if it rained, we were doomed. It was a financial disaster. So
one day,
if it rained, we were screwed. And not that it rains a lot here, but we're always worried about that. So eventually, I said, you know what? 10 years was good.
Yeah, good on you. That's so great. When I was walking down last night, I've been trying to cut some weight recently. So and it was late, FYI to anybody out there, they keep the things open till 11, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Not a great time to eat sausage and peppers.
No.
Sausage
but
and
also
peppers.
a great time to eat sausage and peppers.
If you're a little drunk, just a little drunk, you really could enjoy yourself.
I wonder if people even know who haven't experienced this, because sausage and peppers is not something anybody really orders in a restaurant, but a sausage and pepper sandwich, there's something that happens in that process that turns the olive oil orange. And it is like you just drink, it's thick and it's orange and it's hot and it's so good.
Oniony. Oh, it's the best. It's like just heaven.
You ever see the movie Fatso?
Yes.
Yeah, this is going to turn into that.
Right.
We're tearing the doors off the cabinets to get at the food.
I know. Well, I've told you this before, and I think about you often because you had this great thing. Other than the festival, you would do Sunday football parties, and your buddies would come over, and they'd watch football, and you would cook, and I always just love that idea. I do it in my life all the time, not just football, but just always cooking and for large groups of people. And you said something in an interview that it calms you down because then you don't have to socialize as much.
Right, yeah.
You get to sit there, and which is a weird thing that I have too, which is you love them, you want them there, but I can't be in the conversations the whole time. If I'm tending the sausage and peppers, I have an activity.
I think there are a lot of things like that. I think taking the guy who's taking pictures at the party, which is always appreciated because we never get any pictures, that person is just kind of looking to have something to do that doesn't involve talking to people. And just really making pizzas and looking into that pizza oven. Yeah. It's almost like you're not at the party. Yeah. While you get credit for being at the party, but you're not there.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were participating. I do Christmas Eve. I do the 7 fishes at Christmas Eve. You do. Yeah. And you're working the whole time. I mean, you work harder that day.
Especially getting all that seafood out at once,
I know.
But God, I'm so glad to hear that you say this because I'm already starting to think about Christmas Eve and what I'm going to do, what I'm going to make. Yeah. Previous to last year, I would make 20-something fishes. It wouldn't be 7 fishes, but I would make so many things. Every creature from the sea, everything you can imagine. Wow. I would make that. Wow. But last year I said, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself and see, and also hopefully make this a little bit more manageable, and I'm going to make 7 fishes because it is the feast of 7 fishes. And I was getting really crazy. So last year I did that. I made 7 fishes, and it would, first of all, it's fine. 7 is enough fishes for everyone. But it was great. It was better. So tell me what you make. I'm so interested.
My favorite is the calamari salad, the cold calamari salad.
Mine too. I love it.
When you chop up the celery with even the leaves. Oh, and let the
red wine vinegar
and the oil just marinate with the garlic.
Yes.
That is, and the good thing about it, not a big crowd pleaser.
That's right.
So, and the olives.
In my family,
olives.
there will be like 5 people who feel the same way about it.
Right.
I used to work at this. My first job, I was 14 years old. I worked at a place called Coastal Seafood in Las Vegas, and one of my jobs was to like mop up and throw everything. It was the most disgusting job I've ever had. But I think it was the first day I was working there. They were like, throw out the calamari salad. It's at the end. And I secretly, I don't know why I secretly did this, but on my way out to the dumpster, I grabbed a big spoon and I was just shoveling this almost expired calamari into my mouth. I wanted it so badly. That's a good one. You know what is not a crowd pleaser?
Yeah.
Or a cloud pleaser is the bacala, the salt cod. No one likes it.
Yeah.
Including me.
My father loves it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you wonder if he really loves it or he just didn't know better and it just became something that a flavor he has to have for Christmas.
He sticks to it.
There's not one person in my house that will even taste it.
Yeah.
In my family, they don't like it.
I don't make it.
I don't make it anymore. I made it the first 2 years and I realized, like, what am I doing here?
You know, it would be a good thing. One of my favorite things, and you're just triggering it, which I've never made, is the pasta with the fish eggs.
Yes, the botarga.
Botarga.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever done that?
No, that wouldn't be appreciated in our house. That's too fancy for us.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
It's such a great dish.
I love it. I think it's a Venetian dish.
Yeah.
So I'll make, now there are people in my family who won't eat fish, but I don't make, I will only make seafood and then I'll make some vegetarian. Right. So I will make a lasagna, which is
that's what I do too.
Far and away the favorite thing there. Everybody loves it.
I make 4
lasagnas,
2 veggie and 2 meat.
I go my lasagna is as Italian American traditional as it comes without the meat though. It's 4 kinds of cheese, red sauce. That's it.
Right.
And
no meat.
It's really great. No meat because that would, I feel like it's
right.
Not
it's the
right.
Catholic, right? Oh right. Man, yeah.
It's like kind of part of the deal is no meat.
You're
right?
not. That's the whole reason you're not eating fish is no meat.
So I'll make that. I'll make a different pasta each year. I usually now because I figured out I rotate the pastas from one year to the next. And I'll make either a gnudi. Which is delicious. It's mostly ricotta cheese. It's about 90% ricotta, 10% flour. And then I'll boil them and then fry them in butter.
Ooh.
And then, that nice brown mark on them.
Oh, God.
Gnudi with lobster.
Whoa.
And this one, actually, my buddy Adam Perry Lang, who comes over and helps me, he makes a clam pasta using little shells, though.
Oh.
Because, we have a lot of people. So, the traditional linguine and clams doesn't work so well with a lot of people. But with the little shells, and the shells will, capture a little bit of the sauce. And that is crazy good.
Just like a clam sauce? Like a
clam sauce, yeah. We will make one big fish in my pizza oven.
That's what you have a pizza oven.
Yeah. Make one big fish in there. We made a turbo one year, a huge turbo. We'll kind of wait till the last minute to figure that out.
I don't know turbo.
A turbo is a big flat fish. It's like the fish you see when they draw a cartoon about radiation in a lake,
Yeah.
And we sliced that and then filled it with breadcrumbs and butter and garlic. And I'll make... I make the calamari salad. I'll make a shrimp cocktail. I have clams on the half shell, oysters, and these things I've had the limit now because of the 7 fish limit. But
but it's Yeah, I don't. You could be-
Escarole always.
Escarole.
Yes, that's a something that in our family
That's the
always escarole.
It's almost like a spinachy.
Yeah, it's somewhere between lettuce and spinach.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bitter.
Right, with beans. There's some
escarole
beans in
with
it.
beans, that's right, yeah.
My grandmother would make that.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
was something my grandmother made, so we have to have it.
Oh, another one is take anchovies and wrap them around peppers.
Ooh,
Take the anchovy, they're small, and you put toothpicks in them and let them all marinate.
nice.
But just a anchovy wrapped around pepper, and the pepper's stuffed with something, maybe cheese. Oh, that's.
I have these anchovies that the Frankie's from Frank's and Frankie's and Frank's restaurant in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They gave me this jar of anchovies. They're packed in sunflower oil for 7 years. And actually, they're peppers. Sorry, they're peppers with an anchovy stuffed inside the pepper.
Oh man.
And they're very crisp. They taste as if they've been fried, even though they haven't been fried. And they are absolutely delicious. So I'll usually put those out for this special occasion.
That's so great. And you just have a giant thing of it. So you've
I
had
have
it for
a big
years.
jar of it, and then I'll get more jars as needed. But it
man.
lasts for a while if you keep it in the fridge.
Just talking about it so exciting. I mean,
Very exciting.
We're in September coming
My
into
wife
October.
sees no. My wife would be so happy if I stopped doing it.
I know, mine too.
She does. She's just like, okay, you're occupied for 4 days. I gotta, the kitchen smells like fish.
I know.
I don't really like any of this food. My wife is Irish, so
Right.
they have no dishes.
Yeah, or taste buds, frankly.
But I love it, and there are a few people. There are just enough people in my family who really appreciate it that it's worth doing.
And when you shop for it, that's what such a great moment. When you go out and you start
I got it all figured
to
out
your
now.
little stops where you know where you're getting each thing at each place.
I am so dialed in on where I get everything. I have a seafood delivery every year on Christmas Eve, and I mean it's great.
So perfect. Oh, it really just makes my heart
And
sing.
it's nice because it makes the whole house smell like fish on Christmas morning, like spoiled fish on Christmas morning.
I know.
And that's the other thing. We're too guilty to hire anyone to clean
help?
up.
Oh, really?
So then we'll clean up, and it's like it winds up being like
3 in the
like
morning.
3 days of work leading up to, I don't know, 14 minutes of eating, and then another 4 hours of cleaning up after that.
I would let that guilt go because there are people I've learned who want to work on Christmas Eve because they're here, their family isn't around, and we bring them in, make them family
What we're
immediately.
going to do? We are going to do it 2 nights before Christmas Eve this year.
Oh.
And just treat it as Christmas Eve and give everybody a break.
Well, that's nice. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
We make them family. We bring them in. Like they just, as soon as they get there, we're just
they're
in love
family
with them.
until they're washing the dishes, and then they're all of a sudden
And
they're...
we help out a little bit, but man,
right.
the load is so much. Oh, when you get to go to bed like at 1, 2 o'clock, and the place is spotless, it's worth it.
Well, I know you're right, and I will feel okay about it a couple of nights before Christmas Eve, but it always feels weird.
Are you
Even
doing it
going to the store on Christmas Eve? Like you go in the supermarket and you're like, this place shouldn't be open. And you go, oh yeah, it's open because of me.
Right? Yeah, exactly. There's that place in Burbank, Monte Carlo, Pinocchio.
And Pinocchio, yeah.
Oh, the line.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah.
It's so insane, but everyone's so happy to be in that line. Like this is just like
that place smells like that place is supposed to smell. It smells like a New York Italian deli.
It's when I stopped trying to be a vegetarian for a minute.
Oh, really? Oh, you did?
I walked into there and was like just the Parmesan and the prosciutto hanging from the ceiling, and I was just like, what
am I doing?
What am I doing? I'm disrespecting all my people.
That's
right. I
right.
can't do this. I can't not eat this stuff.
It's like smacking your grandmother across the face.
Yeah, with a pepperoni stick. It's so cruel. Oh man, this is so exciting.
Yeah, Monte Carlo Deli. I've spent a lot. By the way, those lines are long, not just on Christmas Eve. Any Saturday you go in there. When I was making food for everybody on football Sundays, that was my usual Saturday stop.
Oh yeah. You got to go in early. Try and be like one of the first people when doors open.
God, if you can get to know them, that's good.
Yeah.
The other one is Bay Cities in Santa Monica is a great, and they have great sandwiches. You know, their sandwiches
Their
are so
sandwiches.
good. It makes you wonder, why am I cooking?
Yeah, right. Or why can't I make a sandwich?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something about that sandwich too, that Godmother sandwich. That there's a dressing on that sandwich that I don't know what is in there, but it's a color that it's like in that orange family, that the sausage and pepper.
Yeah,
and it's just delicious.
Oh, it's so good. We had those. We did a beach show for our radio show. Joe's the producer on the radio show. And he brought them to the beach, and we couldn't do radio because we all just got quiet.
Yeah.
We were just all eating for 20 minutes.
I have trouble
straight.
doing cooking segments on my show because I take it so seriously. It's weird. There are certain things that it's impossible for me anyway, to be funny while they're happening.
Right.
And like fishing is one of them. Like when I'm fishing, I'm so zeroed in on fishing. Like, I don't even want to talk. There are no jokes, nothing, whatever. I'll sit down and I'll have a little conversation with my fishing guide or whatever. But for the most part, I take it so seriously that I can't fool around. And for me, cooking, it's very hard because I'm so interested in the job at hand.
Absolutely.
That I'm not like with so many other things. Like, I don't care about this. I'm gonna. It's like you have to go to like driver's ed if you get a ticket, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this more interesting by fucking around the whole class.
It's just making jokes.
I don't have that with cooking.
Did you end up going to Italy with Howard?
I did. Yes,
you did.
Yeah, I'd
seen a clip that you were. He was all of his funny anxiety about going. Yeah. But I never heard if you actually went.
We did. He spoke about it on the air, and he said that he said, "I know this is going to disappoint people, but we just really had a good time, and we had a lot of fun." And it's true, we did have a lot of fun.
But
great. There was a lot of anxiety leading up to it. Not for me. I didn't. I was like, listen, this goes one of two ways. Either it goes great and we have fun, or it goes terribly and it's funny. So my wife was nervous about it, and she wanted to make sure everything was perfect. And the most nervous was Howard's wife, because she knew that if it didn't go perfectly, there would never be another vacation. And so, but it did go great, and
it's
he
such a
loved
great friendship.
Italy, and we did have a lot of fun.
I like watching that friendship. It's really kind of like through the years. I mean, it's really been fun to watch from the outside, actually.
Well, it's been fun, obviously, for me, because I love Howard as a person, but also, Howard's the reason I got into radio. Howard's the reason, I idolized the guy. And, still do to a certain extent. But
so were you a kid on the East Coast like early? Because when he was
I moved when I was 9, and I was not in New York when he was on the air, but my Uncle Vinny would mail me cassette tapes of the show. He loved the show, and I'd get like one cassette tape every 3 months, and I just listened to it, 45 minutes on each side, over and over and over and over and over again. And I could not wait to get the next one. And then when I became a morning disc jockey, I'd always planned to be an artist. I always liked to draw, and that was my plan for my life.
Right.
But when I became a disc jockey, Howard would be on, in a lot of markets, he'd be on in the overnight shift, like when on the West Coast. So I'd be able to listen to his show live on the West Coast before I went into work.
Right.
So
great.
And then, oftentimes the signal was not good. Like when I lived in Palm Springs, I had to listen to him on the LA station, which is, 100 miles away. And
in and out.
And the best nights were when I'd catch him just coming out of a commercial break.
Yeah.
And he'd talk for, 30 minutes and before I got into work, and I get to hear the whole thing without the signal being interrupted.
God. I remember my mother listening to it. She had a little Chevette.
Really?
And she would drive, and it was when he was on NBC when Imus was his lead-in.
Right.
And
well, he was the afternoon guy, and Imus was morning.
Right. And my mother was just like, she found like the secret, like on radio, of this hilarious guy, and she thought he was so funny. And then we just followed him forever.
That's great.
Oh, it's just so special. So your anniversary show, your 20th anniversary stuff, was so great. It was so, I don't know what it was. It was, we've seen other shows that have gone for a long time. For me, watching you comedically, it was almost like watching you just like a fine wine. Like you were just like you were watching the show age in real time in that special. Like we all kind of got thrown by 20 years. Holy shit.
Yeah, right.
But watching like the clips and how you kind of came along, it was really. Do you feel that? Do you feel like?
Yeah, I mean
that journey, like
I
from
think
where you
about it
started.
sometimes, and I think about, and the worst thing you could ever do to me is make me watch shows.
Of course,
even now I don't like to watch myself, but
yeah,
to make me sit and watch like the first month of shows, I don't know if I would be able to survive that experience.
Exactly.
And
who is that guy?
I was talking to somebody about this last night, actually, about how unprepared I was for that job, even though, I mean, technically I was prepared for it. I'd done smaller shows that led up to that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was doing. Almost no one who worked for me knew what they were doing. And the fact that the show is still on the air is really, for me, a miracle, because it just shouldn't be. It was a big mess. It was crazy. No one wanted to be on the show. And I, looking back, can see why. And
they really didn't. That was a hard thing to get guests.
It was very hard to get guests.
Right.
The Tonight Show made it harder.
Right.
The publicists. I mean, like,
so hard.
What I didn't realize, like you have a bad night with one guest and you lose 20 guests.
Right. Right.
And that didn't occur to me until we lost 20 guests.
What was a bad night with a guest?
Oh, well, we used to have co-host. I had a co-host because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had no jokes prepared the first night. And I'm a very prepared person in general.
Yeah.
I thought, I spoke to Regis on the phone. He's like, just go out there, make it your own. And I was like, I'm going to listen to Regis. I'm not going to go out and do a bunch of jokes about the news. I'm going to go out and just start talking. I'm a radio guy. I can do this.
Oh,
and
God.
It was like I had a guest announcer every night, which was usually somebody like the janitor or something, and then I'd burn 5 minutes talking to that person at the top of the show, which was interesting to no one.
Just to you.
And then I'd bring out my sidekick, who sometimes they were great and sometimes they were funny and helpful, and then sometimes they made the show much, much worse. And then sometimes they made the show better and worse at the same time. We would book these people maybe like a few days before. You had to get somebody to agree to stay for the whole week. We had Monica Lewinsky as my guest host, and we're like, oh, that'll be interesting, whatever, what's going on with her. And when she got there, they're like, okay. And also Monica will not talk about her experiences in the White House at all. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. That leaves us with, I don't know, her handbag company, I guess. And so publicists another reason they didn't want to book their clients on the show, besides the host, was they didn't know who the guest host was. So, I mean, you might show up and be sitting next to Mike Tyson, who was like a scary character at the time, not America's mascot that he is now.
In between court cases.
And so it was, it was really like there were many nights that it was 5 o'clock and the show was live at 9 o'clock, that we didn't have a guest at 5 o'clock. And I'd just be like, all right. I was dating Sarah Silverman at the time. I'm like, Sarah, I need you to get some makeup on tonight. We don't have a guest, or Adam Carolla, or any of my friends, David Allen Greer.
Yeah.
Like, please come and help me.
Oh man. Was the network, it seems like there's so much more pressure on shows to like open big and be big like immediately.
I think one of the things was we always had pretty good ratings. So that was, we didn't deserve them, but we always had pretty good ratings. So that definitely helped. I think if the show had been a ratings disaster, then they wouldn't have given us as much time as they did to right the ship. Right. But also there's a lot of, there's just a lot of not paying attention that goes on. And unless I did something really bad, which I did do a few of those things, where affiliates would get angry and, or America would get angry. For the most part, they didn't seem to know what was going on.
You were just parked there, late nights taken care of. It's
it
just
was
going to run.
Like, all right, whatever.
What was one of the ones that upset everybody?
Oh, well, I when the Lakers were playing the Pistons, I went on the air and said something to the effect of like, I'm rooting for the Lakers because I would hate to see them burn Detroit down, and that really, I didn't. Never occurred to me that the people in Detroit might take that seriously.
Right.
Their city being burned down. And the Detroit affiliate pulled us off the air, and there was a whole thing. And I was like, all right, who cares? Yeah. And then the head of ABC is like, if you're not on in Detroit, you can't be on, right? You have to be on in all the markets. I said, really? He said, oh. Yes. I was like, well, all right. Well, I guess we better figure this out. But
who do we call in Detroit?
I will say also a big part of me wanted the show to be canceled those first 2 years. Desperately wanted the show to be canceled because it was so hard. It was 5 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I was there all day long. I was there till midnight every night. I had 2 young kids. I was going through a divorce.
Right.
I was surrounded by people who did not know what they were doing.
How old are you then? This is like 30?
I was, let's see, it was 21 years ago, 56. I was like 34, I think, when the show started. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'd hired all my friends and my family, and I couldn't quit, I couldn't quit because they would all be mad at me.
But they could cancel
us. But if
us.
we got canceled, it's another thing entirely. I guess it's the same mentality as when I'm feeling nauseated and I want the plane to go down.
Right. At what point do you stop wanting it to be canceled?
I'm not sure when it was exactly, but it was probably 5 years in that I settled down, and you come up with some signature bits that help you because okay, on Tuesday I can do that,
right?
And so now let's figure out, and just every show goes from it's almost like, I'm not a golfer, but this is what I imagine golf is like. You play golf,
yeah.
When you start out, you're happy when you hit a good shot.
Right.
And then as you get better at it, you want to have a good round,
right.
and then as you get better at it, you're mad at yourself when you have a bad shot. And it's just like that.
Right.
So I would be, I would, be happy if we had one good segment in a show, or even like a good moment in an interview. And that would be enough to kind of carry me through.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, you know what? I want this whole show to be good from the beginning of it until the end of it. And then got to the point where like, you'd have 2 good shows a week and then maybe 3 good. And now we're in, like, we don't have bad shows anymore. Like occasionally it won't be great, but like a show I would consider to be a bad show now would be our best show of the month in the old days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it's tight. It's so dialed in. And it's probably, not to belittle all the writing that's going on. You have an amazing staff, but it's probably easier now. It's like somebody who's been golfing forever, and you know how to use your energy more wisely. It is
easier, and it's the same for them too, because they're like, okay, we know what we're doing. We know we know what is expected of us.
Right.
In those days, no one knew what was expeced of them.
Right.
No one knew what we were supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
I was still approaching it like I was a radio disc jockey. And it was like, okay, well, what happened today?
Yeah.
We'll make a show about that.
Yeah. Well, that's been a big shift in recent years. And this brings me to an uncomfortable moment.
Uh-oh.
We have an uncomfortable moment on this program.
Oh, good. All right.
And
no one likes uncomfortable moments more than I do. So
this is we just have our Cracker Jack staff here does like deep dives once in a while. And as much as you shit on them and stuff, it seems from this picture that you guys are actually good buddies.
That is a very badly doctored photo of me on a jet ski with Donald Trump. He doesn't look like he's having fun.
Not at all.
Did you make that, or
no? They found this out there.
I've never seen that before.
Until you said it was doctored, I thought it was real.
Yeah, well, that was when he was 125 pounds.
I know. Look how funny it is to have his body on like a regular body. I mean, his head on a regular body. But that has taken on a life. This has become a huge focus of rational people across media who seem to be sounding the alarm constantly about this guy. And it's hilarious because of what he puts out on a daily basis. But do you feel like a certain responsibility to ring the bell?
Yeah, I do. I feel a couple of responsibilities. My number one responsibility, I think, is this same responsibility every late night talk show host has had since they started, which is to talk about what people are talking about.
Yeah.
And my next responsibility is to never act like this is normal, because it isn't normal.
It's so far from normal.
It's the news often approaches this, and you do see moments of humanity from certain news anchors who, like, you could see that they can't believe it.
Yeah.
But they're also programmed. And when I talk about the news, I'm talking about the really mainstream news. I'm not talking about the outliers like Newsmax or, on the other end, MSNBC, more that are more opinion based. But I think that they because he's the president, we still there are a lot of things that are ingrained in us as a society and as the media that, it's like, okay, this goes like this, if you look at but it's changing, obviously. You look at when Trump got shot at, how quickly that went away. And and you think about, if you're old enough to remember, Reagan getting shot. And how it was a much bigger deal.
The whole nation hushed.
And it was like, we don't care, which side we're on.
Right.
Our president got shot.
Right.
And that's a great indication of how divided we are, that it was that it went the way it did.
Also, how quickly and how much more information there is flooding all the time.
Yeah.
That was one news story on Reagan, and it was on the 3 networks, and we all watched it over and over, and that was it. And then you read about it in the paper, you got some follow-up. Now the torrent of information that's just coming constantly, even created by himself, he kind of creates so much that story kind of just got washed downriver.
You're right. It is because of him, because he keeps, you really want, it's funny because we don't do a show on Friday. If something happens on Friday, some big crazy thing happens on Friday. By Monday, he's done 17 other crazy things.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we have a show written at 3:30 and he does something and we're like, okay, we're throwing this all out. We're just starting over again.
Was it the moment with the healthcare? Do you feel like that's when?
I feel like that's when people noticed that I was speaking about this stuff, but I was definitely speaking about this sort of thing well before that. But when my son had his heart surgery and I was in the hospital thinking about going back to work, and I'd been talking about the fact that my wife was pregnant and that we were, having a baby. And, this is something that people who watch the show with regularity know and kind of want an update on.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how I was going to handle it just at that very moment.
Yeah.
I know I'm literally sitting in the recovery room watching John McCain on television saving the Affordable Health Care Act.
Yeah.
And
with the thumb down.
Yeah. And that all happened while we were in the hospital. And actually, I think I have my timeline a little bit screwed up, but I was watching it on TV while it was happening. I don't think they'd gotten to that point yet. Mm-hmm. And then I just said, you know what? I'm going to try to make something positive out of this very scary and tumultuous experience that we've been through, which is something I learned in a weird way many years ago. In fact, it's the dumbest story, but I ran out of gas. The one time in my life I ran out of gas, I had a very old RX-7 that had no fuel gauge, and I ran out of gas, and I had to walk to the gas station and get a gas can and fill it up, and it was a big pain. And I remember thinking, now I have something to talk about on the air tomorrow when I was a disc jockey.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is, now that I think about it, when bad things happen to me, I can get something good out. I get some comedy out. I get some material out of it. And most people don't have that.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at things differently. And I even started looking at now like to bad things, and obviously not like really bad things, but minor bad things that happen to you.
Yeah.
And when I look back at them and go, if I had the option to make that not happen, if I could wave a magic wand and save myself from that situation, would I? And I go, nope.
I'm walking with the gas can.
That's right.
But that was another level. This was far from gas can material.
I didn't know it would become a topic of conversation nationally, but
I literally thought about it during this last debate when they brought up the Health Care Act, and he was saying, like, I don't have a plan, but I have a concept of a plan.
You know why he doesn't have a plan?
To be so flippant about health, like at this point, millions and millions of people are relying on it. I can't believe politically that they're even flirting with the idea of taking that away from people.
They're not. That's not a serious thing. That is complete bullshit. They want to throw it out there, and they love what they love doing. Not to get too serious, but what they love to do is to confuse people about what the Affordable Care Act is. It doesn't. It's not how you're treated by your health insurance company. So people go, it's terrible. It's this, it's that. It's like, no. You still have the option to pick what health insurance you want, or, to work at a place that picks which health insurance you get. The care that you get from your doctor is not because of the affordable health. There are two entirely separate things. And the reality is, I personally, because I spoke about this, have, and most people don't get this opportunity, but I've had so many people come up to me and tell me their stories about themselves and their children, their families, about like, my brother would be dead if it wasn't for the Affordable Health Care Act. And so when you hear this stuff, you're just a guy, at Costco shopping, and somebody comes up and tells you, like, my brother had a terminal illness, and, and the last 2 years of his life were so much better because he had this. It would have bankrupted our family,
right, exactly,
and all of these things. And also, like, I have a kid now who these insurance companies were allowed to put lifetime caps on how much they could spend on you, which is just so disgusting.
So gross.
And so you go like, oh, my son, like, and when he's 30, if he needs another heart surgery, his health insurance company is not going to cover it.
Right.
That's how it was set up.
Right. And it's terrifying.
And the reality is Republicans don't want to take it away because they know that people like it, and people will really realize they like it if it gets taken away.
Yeah.
So what they want to do is just criticize it and not. It's the same thing they wanted to do about abortion for a long time. It's like just keep fighting against it, but they didn't want to actually. They didn't actually want it.
Yeah,
to be contested, to
be contested, and then have people point at them and say, "You did it,
right?
You changed it."
Right.
This is a big thing that I have really been wrestling with, and especially because of watching Tucker Carlson. What is your take? He's gone in my book. He's now the worst one. There was other ones that I thought were the worst.
I think that's fair to say.
I think he's the worst one, and I watch all these people and I try and figure out how much of it is them just because you've seen the duplicitous text from him, like he's telling his public one thing, but he believes something else.
Right.
How much of it is performative and how much of it is really bizarre beliefs that they actually hold and that they're spewing onto people. And I think the reason he's the worst, see if you agree, I think he does believe it. I think he started off with his bow tie and just trying to.
I think you just put your finger on it. I think it starts off as almost entirely performative, and it becomes what they believe over time because it gets reinforced by the people that listen to him. First of all, his salary depends upon taking these positions.
Yeah.
He knows who his audience is, and he continues to refine his point of view as the years go on, and it gets more extreme and crazier. But then you also, like, I don't know, I don't know a lot about Tucker Carlson. I've never met the man, but you start reading about his childhood and I don't know the specifics of his childhood, but as I recall, his mother left their family when he was very young and like left her children. And you start to go, okay, well, this poor guy, I mean, this guy, something happened to him, you know, and there's a reason why he's like this, and and of course you can blame everything on everything, and I think that's the very nature of a lack of empathy and understanding is like the core of this MAGA world, but also it can't be ignored,
No, exactly. I have the same thing when I'm out on the road and people cut me off and do something insane and put my life in danger. I get angry, but then I always go to, I wonder why he's racing. Maybe his mom is sick. Maybe he just heard. I'm always trying to understand it and give them. But when I looked him up and I see that he's going on tour, doing 16 dates with Alex Jones as one of his guests, going into a theater in Pennsylvania.
There's no excuse for it.
There's no excuse for it.
Yeah.
You're messing with people's lives. You're bringing on someone who's close to the devil and going on tour with them.
All you can do is pray there's a hell.
Right.
I really hope this hell I've learned so much about is a thing.
Yeah. Right.
And I hope that I can look in on it.
Right. It's not my responsibility. It's the way it worked out as I fly through purgatory. Oh.
Yeah, it's scary, but
It is scary.
I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
I see how it happens. I think that you see people kind of like go the other way.
Yeah.
And on the internet, of course, it lends itself to that.
That they think it's a game is really upsetting.
Yeah.
That they actually think it's a game, and you actually see people acting out in their real lives or being affected by them just feeding them horrible information.
It's terrible. I don't disagree with you, but I think we all do it to a certain extent in our lives. I think that the people at Marlboro know that they're doing. I think every person who works at that company knows that they're killing people, and they're doing it anyway because they have to pay their rent.
Yeah.
I think we all do it. I mean, I would say I'm guilty of it myself. I mean, I have a television show. I don't know what commercials are running during my show, but I know that a lot of these products are not good for people.
Right. The deeper you go.
But do I walk into ABC and go, I do not want any more? No, I don't do that.
Right,
because, because I like my job and I like making money,
Yeah.
So we're all guilty to a certain extent.
To an extent. But I agree, but I also think there's a degree of...
Well, sure there is. There's
Yeah.
a difference between jaywalking and murder.
Yeah. So how heady is it when you start, in a very public way, having a real dialogue with Trump, that he's actually, calling you out by name and doing these things, and you get to have the opportunity to go. And when I was talking about your brilliant writing staff, your monologues have been so on point and so packed, and your delivery of it is so perfect.
I will tell them you said that, and they will be happy to hear that, especially from you. But I think that to me, it's evidence that this is not a serious man and that he shouldn't be the president.
Yeah.
Because I've been making fun of presidents, not to this extent, since I started this job.
Yeah.
Never heard anything from any of them other than, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And the idea that this is what keeps him up at night, and this is what this is what he's working on.
Yeah.
If you ever sit down with Bill Clinton,
right.
if you ever have a conversation, you're ever fortunate enough to have a long conversation with Bill Clinton, you will see a person who wants to solve all the problems in the world.
Right.
A very serious person who you go like, oh yeah, this is what the world needs.
Yeah.
People who think like this.
Yeah.
And
grown-ups. Beyond grown-up.
Yeah, and you sit with Donald Trump, it's like would you trust him with anything? Like, would you, like, if he was your financial advisor, Like,
He'd be panicked.
it's like, he'd be like, okay, well, we need to find someone else, honey.
Yeah. He said everything's cool. He said we don't have to pay taxes at all. Well, he's our advisor.
He wants us to put our names on the side of our house.
It's got to be pretty heady, though, knowing that you've got this guy's ear.
I guess it is. I don't know. I think in a way it...
Is it nerve-wracking?
No, not really. It is satisfying sometimes, to be perfectly honest. It's fun sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you really think about it, it's scary and it's upsetting.
Yeah.
It's just that, I mean, that's how you, I think, would describe his existence. You know, it's like, yeah, it's funny. And you know what? Sometimes he's funny.
Right.
Like, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he says funny things sometimes. And if he was your uncle or whatever, you'd be like, oh, there he goes again, you know.
Yeah.
But it also, you have to remember, like, oh, yeah, he's sitting in a room with Vlad Putin.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
these people in Ukraine, these poor people are suffering. The idea that, I mean, for somebody my age to imagine that Republicans would be on the side of Russia.
So insane.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like, Ronald
Melts your
Reagan, if you activated his brain and said, like, hey, what do you think about this? He would die again immediately.
I know. It can't be my party. It can't be my party you're talking about.
Everything's upside down.
Yeah. My hope is if he goes away, he's so unique. He's such a unique character, and he goes away. There's not another one of him. People aren't putting up merch for.
I hope so, but we don't know that.
The,
and I think the next version of him will be a much more polished version of him, more in the JD Vance category. Somebody who has, and I don't even think Donald Trump has like conservative thoughts.
Right.
I think that he had an opportunity to be a really popular president when he was elected. You know,
he did.
I actually had the thought, like, okay, well, maybe he's just going to do, instead of towing a party line, maybe he's going to just do what's popular. Maybe he just wants to be popular. And I think we'd be lucky to have a president who just wants to be popular, because I think that we'd get some background checks on gun sales. I think we'd get rid of these, machine guns that teenagers are allowed to have. I think that, they just look at the opinion polls and they
80% of the people want it.
77% of Americans believe abortion should be legal. I'm going to make abortion legal.
Yeah.
And I think that he had the opportunity to do that. And unfortunately, I think Democrats made some mistakes. I think when that time where Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi got in there and convinced him to support infrastructure, which is the perfect thing to get Donald Trump on board with, because he thinks of himself as a builder.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, I'm going to do this. Instead of coming out and saying, like, this president did the right thing. He stepped across. They came out and they acted like we goofed, we tricked him.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that was a big mistake right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then he went, oh, okay, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And if we had done it a little bit differently at the beginning, maybe we would be in a different situation.
Yeah. I just hope he goes away.
Yeah, I hope he goes away too.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't worry about the next incarnation.
No, because it rhymes with Mucker Marlson. One other comfortable moment I have here. You goof around a lot about Matt Damon.
That's not goofing around.
Yeah, you really don't like him. Then our staff found this.
That picture is real. Who's the bald man behind us? I don't have my reading glasses on. So.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's just a rando.
Yeah.
But that's you and Matt on a roller coaster together, holding hands and looking in each other's eyes.
Maybe that's
lovingly.
why I vomit on roller coasters.
I wanted to clear the air with something.
Yeah.
Because I was at a Mumford & Sons concert here in LA with Matt Damon and Ryan and a couple friends. And you were at the same concert. And as a goof, Matt's wife, Lucy, had given me this for Christmas, this Asian martial arts shirt, and it had like a dragon on it and some Asian writing. Who knows what it said? And it was horrible. But so to be funny, I showed up at the concert with them wearing it. Like I'm actually out in the world with it. And then we go to the concert. The concert's over. We run into you and Molly afterwards as we're all exiting. And you came by and, it's after the concert. Our heads are spinning. And you said hi. And you kind of glanced down at the shirt. And I couldn't go, no, it's a joke. I've carried that with me since then.
It's funny because when things don't add up, they don't add up. If something seems off, it's because it is. I am sure that I sighed and I thought either Tom's a very different person than I thought he was, or I did not realize that. What an awful thing for Matt to do, to put you in that position where you felt you had to wear that shirt. I mean,
on the ride home, I was like, maybe Jimmy's right. Maybe Matt isn't that great.
We do have the same musical taste, Matt Damon and me. We do wind up at the same concerts a lot. Yeah. And he always seems to be 2 rows in front of me, which he is always very happy about. And it's funny because even though
better seats than you,
even though the seats are all great, just being 2 rows behind is a real kick in the ass.
Yeah, that was like, I got on a flight once with Mark Maron. We were in Boston, flying home after a weekend of doing shows separately. And, Mark, he's just so cantankerous and everything. And he was in first class and I was the first row of coach. He was so happy.
Oh, well, I'll tell you a story.
Just to look over his shoulder and see me.
I'll tell you my Mark Maron run into story. And I don't know Mark well, but I was at a furniture store in Silver Lake looking for furniture, which I didn't know how to do. And I was just like, it was like a vintage, like old, it's like somewhere between a thrift store and an antique dealer. And I saw this chest of drawers and I thought, all right, that looks like it'll fit, and that looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I I told the person, I'd like to buy that, and then buy that, and then a few moments later, a man tapped me on the shoulder or whatever, and he says, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh, hey, Mark, how you doing?" He's like, "I just tried to buy this chest of drawers." He's like, "Do you really want that?" I was like, "Yeah, I really do. For me, I knew it would be another 8 weeks before I found another piece of furniture." And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Oh, all right, whatever." I beat him to the punch by 4 minutes.
I'm sure it bothers him to this day.
And I still have that piece of furniture.
We do another thing on this program because we both love really nice food, and we're experts at it. You actually almost lit my place on fire when you put your favorite pasta dish for your kids, for your family.
The pastatina, yeah.
The pastatina. And you do a thing which I'd never even thought of doing is edge the pan of oil up a little bit and get the garlic in the deep part of the oil. Because, you put an oil out, it's very thin. How do you get that garlic to be absorbed by the oil? And you said just kind of angle it a little bit.
Yeah.
And get the garlic. I'm like, that's pretty brilliant. Or terrifying that you're taking hot oil on a pan.
Very flammable hot oil.
And precariously propping it up. I only made it once. I was like, that guy's nuts.
Well, you know what? First of all, someone needs to invent a pan that is tilted in a way.
That would
in
be
a safe way. And I hope somebody's listening. If that you do make this, I will promote it for you far and wide because I am going to burn my house down. I don't know if you notice, I got a big wound on my thumb from slicing garlic the other night. Garlic is, I feel like in a lot of ways, it's like it's the core of Italian cooking, but also it's going to be the thing that kills me. And I am going to set a fire. I think I did have an accident of some kind while
doing that,
which I'm very, what I do in the kitchen is not recommended at all.
And I'm there mimicking it.
I have a fire extinguisher right under the stove. because I know I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
And I don't do things safely.
Do you do the smash of the garlic?
I smashed it. Well, it depends on what I'm cooking in.
Yeah.
But for making a red sauce, I'll smash the garlic.
Yeah. Well, we also, I come from New Jersey. You have mainly Vegas roots. We also like stuff that's just processed.
Yeah.
And if we see something out there, we grab it and then give it a little test.
Yeah.
I've never seen this. The Dorito people are always going nuts. They have a new thing called
they must have a lot of meetings. Dynamita.
I have no idea. Chili limon. It's in the dynameter. It's there as hot.
It's not. It's not extra hot. It's in the
not
middle.
extra hot.
I will have no trouble with it. Something in the middle.
Give it a little review.
Oh, this could be like your own version of Hot Ones, you know?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, let's look at it first. It is not a color ever seen in nature.
No, it's not.
It looks like the intestine from a small animal.
Yeah. Or like something that they take out of the back of your knee.
Yeah.
Like a tendon.
Yeah. Should we eat it at the same time?
All right. Cheers.
It's spicy. It's got some like lime flavor to it. It's pretty good, actually.
You know? Oh, it's
really
got a lot
good.
of spice.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
The Dorito people very rarely
God
fail.
bless them. Yeah, it's not like they don't test this stuff beforehand. They
Yeah. And look how it triggers immediately.
a little bit
have
of
another
tear.
one. Right? They are really on point.
You know what? The lime tastes very fresh, doesn't it? It tastes like real lime.
It really does.
They should be in charge of more stuff, you know? Like, we should figure out which companies, which products are, like, the
Yeah.
Doritos people. They obviously know what they're doing. I mean, of course, this is poison, what we've just eaten is. But, you can handle a little bit of poison.
A little bit here and there.
Well, I forgot to tell you, whenever I eat something hot, I get the hiccups.
Oh, no.
And I now
You have the hiccups already.
Luckily, we're not doing
We're nearing the end.
a radio show. I'm going to be hiccuping.
That's
too.
a knee-jerk reaction?
It's automatic. I eat a pepper, I get the hiccups.
Oh, that's hilarious. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Does it last
I
for a
might
while?
be the only guy. It depends. Hopefully, hopefully it'll calm down.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know, it's a weird thing. Another weird thing. When I'm on the show,
Yeah.
first of all, I wear this Aura ring. Have you ever seen one of these things?
No.
Okay, it's a thing that it measures you. It kind of like keeps track of your body temperature and your sleep. It measures your sleep. It gives you a score for your sleep, and it also measures your stress. And there's this weird thing, like my stress is pretty high throughout the day, except for when I'm doing the show. Like that hour,
Really?
it's weird. It's like nothing stress wise,
Wow,
and
I
then
get
as soon
that.
as it's over, it goes right back up. You probably,
get that.
if you get the Aura ring, you could really monitor it.
Yeah.
But the Aura ring also, I forgot what I was talking about. The hiccup. No, not about the Aura ring. When I have the hiccups or I have to pee or something like that, and the show starts, it stops immediately. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It just turns, your body turns it off.
It does. I know if I'm really sick, I'll feel it on stage because I could feel like death. And as soon as I get on stage, it's gone. I have
Isn't
no
that
feeling of
crazy?
it. And then if you do feel it on stage, then you know you're really screwed.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like
Yeah.
even like coughing, that kind of thing, and like
Yeah.
it just stops.
Just gone. Yeah, any like headachy, anything. It just gone.
Somebody needs to figure out what's happening there and how we can use that more productively. You know,
Yeah. Do you work out?
it's always funny to be asked that question
Yeah.
because it's clear that it's not working.
No. You're a very handsome man. You get more handsome as the years go on. And you dropped a bunch of weight by fasting and not eating.
work out. I work out 3 times a week.
You
but
do.
Most of what I've done and what I do is I become so entertaining during the session that very little actual exercise gets done.
Oh, you mean you have a trainer that
I have a trainer
and you
who
just make them laugh?
I just start asking about his life and his opinion on this and that. The other day we played this game where with 80s music, I can identify an 80s song like within like a millisecond of the song starting, and where we then just did that for about 25 minutes.
And they have no idea what you're up to.
I don't know if they know, they don't care. They're like, well, he's still paying me, so who, whatever. And I know I'm only cheating myself, but I can't help but do it.
That's so brilliant. I had a guitar teacher when I was like in 6th grade, and I didn't realize at the time, but he was on heroin because he would nod off. He would come in, very cool looking guy, and we'd sit there, and I never practiced, I just didn't practice. And but he would nod off, and he wouldn't wake up so I realized, similar to your thing, if I'm just quiet, I'm just going to let him, and around the 25th minute, I'll go, bang, and he'd come to and go, all right, good job. See you next week.
You could have been like Eddie Van Halen by now.
I know, just cheating ourselves. No, but you really, you changed through the years, but you also at a certain point dropped weight because you fasted.
I did, yeah. I don't do that anymore.
You don't?
No.
Yeah. That was pretty extreme.
But I'm an extreme person. I can't play video games because I meet adult men who play video games and I go, I don't know. To me, there's no difference between that and heroin.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it is, I am like on board completely, and I cannot, I just can't. I just know I'm a glutton. I'm a gluttonous person. I will eat as much. The idea of not finishing all the food on my plate,
I know,
is ridiculous. And then you have kids, and then they don't finish their food, and so you finish their food too. For each kid equals 5 pounds for me.
It's really
and then
true.
my wife, eats reasonably, and so I will always finish her dinner to the point where I get so mad if she goes to throw something out. I make breakfast every morning. I'll make her, a bagel with an egg on it and whatever. And then she eats half the bagel and goes to throw it away. I'm like, wait, what are you doing?
You're back to you eating calamari at
Over
the dumpster.
Garbage. Yeah, that's me. I
had a joke like that early on that it was always funny to me because I do the same thing, that how little I think about myself, that it's either in the garbage or in me. It's right on the cusp.
I am the garbage.
You're not going to be hosting this year any of the big shows.
The Oscars, no, I said no to that.
Is it a really great feeling when you say no to that? You got so good at it, but I know it must be. How much of a burden is it on your year?
No, it's not a great feeling, but it's just a lot, and it's like I have a lot to do as it is, and then adding that in the mix. And also, you just kind of go like, okay, well, it went well 2 years in a row the first time, and then went well 2 years in a row the second time. At what point am I pushing my luck? And people, even if it's great every year, people get tired. People, they need something to write about. They need something to complain about.
Yeah.
They're like, they have these fantasies that all these people that in their world are great would be great at this. And you sit there and you go, no, they wouldn't. You need a comedian hosting a show. I mean, certainly there are people who are not comedians who are talented enough to put on a great show. But if you're going to walk out there and you're going to tell 9 minutes of jokes, you should be a comedian.
Fancy that.
Yeah. And I have to say, it annoys me not just for myself, but on behalf of all comedians,
right.
that they think so little of this art form, that anybody can walk out there and do it.
It is infuriating.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, it's not your father-in-law making a funny toast at a wedding. There's a big difference.
Yeah. How much of your year gets eaten up by it when you say yes?
A lot, because I push I think you asked me to do this leading up to the Oscars. Like, can I do it after the Oscars? And now here we are. It's way after the Oscars. It's almost the next Oscars.
Right. Yeah.
So I have a lot of catching up to do with things that I agreed to do beforehand, and so it's a lot of work leading up. I push everything off, and then I have to do all those things.
Right. It's a lot. That you take it serious.
And we have an election coming up. I kind of want to be extra focused on my show.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Right. last question as a fan. Are you going to continue? There were some rumors of you like toying around with the idea of when do you stop?
It is funny because it's such a like essential. I've been asked this question so many times that I sometimes feel like people want me to go away. Like,
it's
like
the
imagine
opposite.
if you were at a party and people are like, "Hey, how you doing? When are you going to leave?"
No, the reason you're saying that is because I'm not going to stay here if you're not here.
I've stopped answering the question, not because I don't want to answer the question, because I do feel a weird responsibility to answer any question that I'm asked.
Yeah.
But I've stopped answering it because, first of all, I know it's becoming like kind of a joke now. Like I'm like Cher in her farewell tours.
Right.
But also because I know that when it comes down to it, my mindset is very different than it is when I'm just musing about it. You know, when I'm musing about it, I go, oh, enough, whatever. I want to have some fun. I want to travel a little bit. I want to relax. I want to have lunch. Like this is the closest I get to having lunch is, doing a podcast at noon.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know that about myself now after having gone through this several times. And so I really don't know, I do know when my contract is up. But I'm learning about myself and I'm trying to be more reasonable. And also there are a lot of people's lives involved in when I stop doing this show.
That's true too.
And so I don't take that lightly either.
Yeah. Well, your buddy Howard is he seems through the years to adapt his work to his life at different times. And
well, that's one of the nice things about being Howard Stern is they want you so badly they will take whatever you'll give them.
They don't want you to go either, though. You're on the top of your game for real.
Well,
it's such a joy to watch. It's like I try not to spend a lot of time on social media, but your show every single morning is like the go-to.
That is high praise coming from you. I appreciate that.
So great. One last gift. This is from my friend Anthony. He made this thing called Super Salt. This isn't a promo. This is just literally, it's this great salt.
You will fly if you use
mix it with different herbs and stuff. And he's an Italian great sommelier.
Nice.
It's great to cook with.
I will use it. Maybe I'll use it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, let's touch base when we get closer to Christmas. And
I'll share you. I draw up the menu.
You do?
I'll draw pictures of the fish. I want people to see what the fish look like and that kind of stuff.
Oh, you're putting me to shame. You're putting me to shame.
I'm just happy you do it. I think that traditions like that.
Oh, it's the best.
To me, they're important.
So important. So important. Say hi to your family.
I shall.
And thanks for doing this.
Thank you for the bread and the Toroni and the super salt and the
I'm not going to let you take these. You're not going home with these. You're going to get in an accident on the way home. All right, Joe, we got it.